It's raw, it's visceral, it's violent. This is a canvas.
What happens when perfectionism
Listen very, very carefully.
meets unparalleled passion?
Are you professional or not? Give me a f***ing answer!
When the lines of artistic pursuit become so blurred,
You're not Batman anymore.
you have trouble telling role from reality.
How long do the characters stay in your head?
Do they ever leave?
Anyone chasing creative fulfillment knows there's no such thing as giving a perfect performance.
What a room full of talented and inspirational people, and what the hell am I doing here?
But there are those who have come close.
Call it. Call it, yes.
For some, it's brought unprecedented success.
I do know that I've received so much more than my fair share of good fortune.
For others, it came at the cost of their own identity.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other.
But there's one man who's managed to navigate this labyrinth of emotions time and time again.
Bale studied Cheney from the tiniest details to the big ones.
All the while keeping his sanity intact.
Listen, I cannot understand you!
Although at times questionable, Christian Bale is arguably one of the greatest living actors working today.
And Christian is a good example of somebody, he'll stay in the voice and in the physicality of the character for the entire time.
But along with this status came a reputation for being one of the most difficult to work with.
Have you also given any thought to not turning into an insufferable brat?
Whether or not you think the ends justify the means here, his filmography speaks for itself.
Christian is what I call, and I mean this in the best way, the method psycho actor guy.
Bale credits his upbringing as a big inspiration for him. He would move around a lot as a child, attempting to fit into every new environment. He enjoyed the process of putting himself in other people's shoes. With each new town came a new chance to adapt.
The first time I went out on the stage, I was really nervous, but I wouldn't call it that difficult.
Most actors don't get the opportunity to truly display their range in an unconventional way.
Trevor, I don't understand what the f*** you're talking about.
I'm talking about your ex, Ivan!
Most of Bale's characters tend to challenge his range as an actor.
I'm in and I'm out. I was there the whole time. You don't know it.
Even when his role demands subtlety like in American Psycho or Equilibrium,
No, I said we are totally booked. 2 at 9? Perfect.
it's usually a character whose facade is slowly stripped away.
Patrick!
What is it?
These are layered, complex emotions. In The Machinist, he's a paranoid insomniac.
They say the guy in this photo doesn't exist.
In The Fighter, he's an addict who's essentially fried his own brain.
You didn't knock down Sugar Ray Leonard, he tripped.
I was in a ring. Don't you think I know what really happened that day?
Bale adopts a character's physical appearance, voice, and mannerisms,
The vice presidency is mostly a symbolic job.
dropping down to 120 pounds for The Machinist on a diet of apples, water, and coffee, even chain smoking daily to really drive the point home. In American Hustle, he'd gained 50 pounds to portray an aging loan shark.
What is this? What is it? You got, like one in my closet or something?
This dedication has put him on quite the pedestal in Hollywood,
Christian Bale for vice? Christian Bale, the fighter.
a position that he can't actually stand. The better he is, the more people clamor to get a moment of his time, but he doesn't do well in the limelight.
Initially, I just wanted to get back to England non-stop.
In fact, Christian Bale tends to isolate himself. This method acting demands a degree of detachment from his real life.
Go out to dinner and he'd ask us to describe the taste of the food.
And although it fosters an intense relationship with his character, it can also be extremely mentally taxing.
That was just the outward show of his guilt and being eaten alive, literally.
That is a mental endurance that is almost unfathomable.
This immersion creates a rift between his personal life and his work.
What is the trauma on your body at this point in your life of the characters that you've inhabited?
I've sometimes gone, possibly a little too far, but it all felt absolutely appropriate at the time.
He snaps out of it eventually, but it's hard not to believe he leaves an original piece of himself behind.
You got to know your character well before you ever step onto that set.
In order to fully immerse yourself in a character, it requires a deep amount of empathy.
It wasn't just for fun that I decided to shave my head, bleach my eyebrows, and put on 40 pounds.
They tend to have some meaningful underlying reasons for why they act the way they do. For some, it's trauma. For others, it's simply a chemical imbalance.
My punishment continues to elude me, and I gain no deeper knowledge of myself.
But this deep deep emotional resonance can also be contagious. Austin Butler, months after wrapping the Elvis movie, still spoke with remnants of the singer's accent.
The Elvis voice was still very present in your voice. I think there's a lot less of it now.
I'm glad you say that. I hear it all the time.
Now scaled us to the level of immersion demanded by an actor like Christian Bale, and what you discover,
being in Lowell, hanging out with him, getting kicked out of bars,
is that you need to exert a tremendous amount of control over your own emotions. The ability to flip the switch on inner turmoil whenever necessary.
I just want to make it right. Just get out of my house.
Especially during major physical changes.
Do you need the weight gain and the prosthetics before you fully feel in character?
I certainly felt like I did. I'm not so sure now. There's two reasons. One is my own health. It does appear as though prosthetics have come such a long way, but I didn't know that, and I'm stubborn.
Constantly fluctuating appearance and the resulting media attention can deeply affect your self-perception. Pair this with a grueling, extensive work schedule, and what you get is a recipe for disaster.
In a fit of rage, actor Christian Bale was caught on tape going off on the director of photography while on the set of the fourth Terminator movie.
It's no secret the media tends to sensationalize.
Does Mr. Bale have an anger problem?
John Connor has an anger problem. Real unfortunate and inexcusable, but we were resolved within 30 seconds. We're looking at 4 minutes of a 77-day shoot, and the rest of the time was real smooth sailing.
When you're filming a really intense scene, you haven't slept in 48 hours. I mean, people are raw.
So misunderstood.
For a lot of people, his roles have made it easier to forgive his flaws or past mistakes. They dismiss it as just being another part of an actor's emotional journey. For others, it's branded him as a loose cannon, an individual who can't seem to maintain his emotions outside of a film set. Sprinkle in social media's tendency to build parasocial relationships, and you sort of understand why his preference is to stay private.
2003 Toyota Tacoma. That's what he drives around in.
By limiting insight into his personal life, he can weaken the media's ability to frame who he is to the general public. This creates an aura of mystery. It amplifies his on-screen presence. If you can't gain insight into the actor, you can at least analyze the character.
And then my son will look at me as I'm talking to myself or pretending to have a heart attack. You always look a bit mental when you're an actor, and maybe it's right, you are a bit mental.
But this limited access also has a tendency to backfire. Whenever an issue does arise, it's almost immediately making headlines.
Christian Bale reportedly was arrested Tuesday over allegations of assaulting his mother and sister.
Slip up once and you're now a trending topic. Despite this, he's managed to keep himself pretty well grounded.
The actor who plays Batman, Christian Bale, made a surprise visit to see the survivors of the rampage at the movie theater.
Why do we force? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Christian Bale is the epitome of what happens when perfectionism meets passion.
I can't wait to see the next chapter of his story.
He's aware that acting is more than just mere skill.
I'm a salesman, essentially, when it comes to the film.
It's a journey into the human psyche, one that comes at the risk of his own peace of mind.
I've never particularly been asked to do transformations, but you just get it in your head and you just go, I need to. I always talk with the director about it. It's just that they don't necessarily understand quite to what lengths I might be talking about.
True artistry comes with its own set of risks, its own set of challenges. You just need a willingness to face them.